everybody, I'm Brad the Italian, and today we're answering a question from Emerson21. They ask, hey, my dog, a toy poodle, has a habit of crying for our table food when we eat dinner, and she doesn't like her normal dog food. Any advice? She's 6 months old. Well, there is a culprit in your house that is feeding her from the table. This is all right in certain circumstances, but this is kind of the negative response that can happen when you do start feeding them from the table. So in order to fix this, it's actually really simple. All you need to do is stop feeding her from the table. Then, what you want to do is check her nutrition on her food. So whatever food you're getting her, make sure it's high quality and good food. Now this means it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's going to be worth it. Me personally, I really like the brand Merrick because they're very upfront with all of their food. When you look at this label, it shows that chicken is the very first ingredient in their food, which means it's the most prominent in their food, followed by chicken meal. Now, a lot of people get nervous about meal. Meal just simply means that the food is dehydrated, that the chicken they used for that, it had all the moisture removed from it. That's all. Now we're being followed up with things like potatoes and other healthy things for them. And actually, if you look on the label as well, you can see that crude protein, crude fat, all of those percentages are included on the label. And that's something I really enjoy from Merrick. Once I learned about nutrition in dogs, I stuck with Merrick. Merrick was kind of my brand. Now, of course, I'm not sponsored by Merrick. I'm still just a baby channel. But Merrick, if you are listening, let me know. Now, the reason I brought up nutrition and why it's so important is because your dog actually knows what they need and what they want by smell. So if they smell cheaper food that has a lot of fillers and not a lot of great substance into it, they're not going to go for it as much. Your food is packed with nutrients, and so they'll want all that food. So my number one recommendation is to first make sure that the food you have is high quality food. And now if that's still not swaying her over to her food, you can kind of kick it up a notch by adding a little bit of chicken broth. Maybe you just shred up some chicken for her and place it in the food bowl. Now don't let her see you shred up the chicken and put it in the food bowl. Do it off to the side. Anytime you're doing stuff like that, that you're enhancing the food or enhancing anything, you kind of want to be in secret because once they learn that you're doing this, they'll expect it to be the norm again. Now just as a side thing to kind of kick it up a little bit more, you could use the food itself as training treats. So if you're doing something simple like sit or down, you could use the kibble instead of whatever training treats you have just to help get them to realize that this food is great and that they should love it. Now I feel if you just stopped feeding them from the table and maybe kicked up the food a notch by adding in some chicken broth, that should be enough. But of course, remember, you don't want to start off by adding chicken broth or adding slices of chicken. You want to try to just by upping the food and stop feeding them from the table. However, if that doesn't work, the next step would be to add the chicken broth or the chicken slices. And again, if those two things don't work, I'm actually going to go over a training trick that would help with this as well. The command is called leave it. So you're going to take the piece of chicken, you're going to wave it in front of their face, and then you're going to throw it off to the side where you have a millisecond to react, where you put your foot between them and the food, and you tell them leave it. Now this is where the great dance of leave it comes in, because they're going to try to go around your foot, and you're going to have to keep moving around and putting your foot between them and telling them to leave it every time you put your foot down. The response you're trying to get is for them to back off or back off and sit down. Once they do this, then you pick up the leave it treat and you get a treat, another treat from your back, and you feed them that treat. You do not feed them the leave it treat because then they think that they should eventually get that object. And the goal of this is to tell them when they're at the dinner table, leave it, and they should leave the table knowing that they're not going to get the leave it object, which is whatever's on the table. I do want to reiterate though, you want to take these steps one at a time. You don't want to do all of them at once and wonder which one worked. So start with increasing the value of their food, either by getting better food or by adding chicken broth or chicken strips. But again, take it one step at a time. And if that doesn't work, then go to the leave it steps. The last bit of advice that I can give for this is that dogs really enjoy schedules, so try to have the feeding on a regular schedule. Like I feed my German Shepherd one time in the morning and one time at night, so she knows when to expect the food. So now that's going to be it for the training portion of this. Now I'm going to kind of go over some details about my channel and how I plan to post up my videos. I'm hoping to post up every Tuesdays and Thursdays, with Tuesdays being weekly questions or Reddit questions or some other community questions that I can answer for you guys. On Thursdays, I'm planning on doing weekly training sessions, which we got a kind of sample of today through the Leave It. Now that is going to be it for this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all on Thursday.